So, how are we, everyone? I'm doing great, thanks for asking. I just saw Season 8, Episode 3 of Game of Thrones, and after a bit of therapy, I am feeling good. 3 years, in fact, of therapy. That's how much it took to get over this. Yes, Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3. Oh my god. Oh my god. So let's talk a bit about it, shall we? Because there are some problems here. Just a couple, you know. A couple of minor things, you know, like the biggest, baddest bad guy in all the realm. The biggest threat to ever face humanity being picked off like it was a mere tiny plot point, like it was a fly. It caused that much inconvenience to the major characters. Unbelievable, man. George would be rolling in his grave right now. Well, you say he's not dead, but then why has it taken him 400 years to release the last book, hey? I ask you that. And why, if he was still alive, did he let this happen to our sacred show? So it was when the producers stopped following George's book that the whole thing kinda went. And that was around Season 5, I believe. The reason for this is that the two writers behind it, these dudes, if you want to see what their epic collection of works are for screenwriting, it's X-Men Origins Wolverines. Do I need to say more? Really? The people who wrote a film that was so bad that it haunts my nightmares. And they became the showrunners, and they became responsible for a show entirely plot-driven. Well, that's fine, right? There may have been problems with X-Men Origins Wolverine. Maybe creative problems, and, you know, we weren't giving them a fair chance, but we've seen now. Where to begin, man? I mean, we could start with the logical inconsistencies littered throughout this one episode alone. The trebuchets not being protected at all, firing one shot, and then some crew member coming on and saying, "We're out of budget, you gotta cut the trebuchets now," and then they get rid of the trebuchets for no particular fucking reason. The terrible planning from everyone. I would love to see the boardroom meeting where everyone, all the greatest minds of Westeros, are sitting around a table and Tyrion says, "Well, I think if we send in the cavalry first." "Oh, into the White Walkers? In the dark?" "Yes. Every plan sounds stupid when you say it aloud." "Ha ha ha, you're so funny, Tyrion. Let's carry out that plan because I'm ditzy." And it's not just the internal logic, if that went bad enough. There's also the shot composition. At one point, Ser Jorah Mormont is fighting with Dany, and he's trying to protect her. And I swear to God, Dany pushes Jorah in the way of a sword. I thought, whoa, Dany, that's cold. Are you serious? I genuinely thought that was planned, that was intentional. I thought that she'd said, "Oh, well, he's a lost cause, I'd better just... There you go," and then pushed him on the sword. But no, that can't be it, right? But then they've left in a shot which looks like it gives Dany the intention of pushing Jorah in front of a sword, which dramatically changes her character. In one scene, it shows that she is so calloused and cruel that she's willing to push cock tease of a man in front of a sword. What? And then she's crying afterwards like, "Oh no, I didn't realize pushing you into a sword would kill you." And it's like, Daenerys, you bitch. Shall we talk about the fact that it was darker than a Zack Snyder film? Shall we talk about as well the inconsistency of the zombies? They don't even have someone on set a consistency manager. That's actually an occupation. It's not that name specifically, but it's where someone comes onto set, they go, yes, you were there, that was there. We're all good. That looks consistent. And they make sure this shit's consistent. Where were they? Were they smoking pot in the back room? Brienne of Tarth is getting fucking mauled alive by 7 zombies. There's a crowd on top of her. It's gangbang of the century. And they're coming in, and then... Then Jamie motherfucking Lannister comes in. He kills 1 zombie. And that's it. What? Excuse me? Sorry, where did the other zombies go? I don't see them anymore. Do you see them? Holy shit. That's convenient. Whenever there's too many zombies, it seems that someone kills them. And it's not any of us, so it has to be the writer killing them. How am I supposed to get invested in a scene when you're constantly fucking changing the scene to be nothing like it was before? Oh no, there's 7 zombies on them. Don't worry, it won't make a difference. Yep, there's one. The editing was okay. Shaky cam. Shall we? Someone sat in a closet and watched Jason Bourne. The entire trilogy. Trilogy, motherfucker, there are no more films. They watched the entire trilogy in a room on repeat. And then they said, you know what would be a good idea? It's hard enough when I can't see anything. It's even worse with shaky cam. I don't know who's alive, I don't know who's dead. Because it's shaking like the cameraman has severe Parkinson disorder. So when the 2 dragons are fighting up in the sky, this is Jon's dragon and the Night King's dragon. When they're up in the sky and they're fighting, it's like that scene in Jason Bourne, where they've both got these black coats on. And I don't know who's winning, because I don't know who the fuck Jason Bourne is in that situation, because it's just 2 people in black coats rolling on the ground. And it's so messy. The camera's shaking so much by that point where it's like, well, I won't even try. I'll just hope that he wins, because I can't see what the fuck is happening. And that's what happened with the dragon. Jon's dragon attacks the other dragon, and it's like, well, I don't know which one's winning right now, so I'm just gonna hope for the best. This is just in the episode itself, right? Like, and it varies from episode to episode, because they get different directors on board, and the different directors will have their different styles, and they might do better or do worse. But what cannot change are the fundamental problems that they've introduced, which boggle my fucking mind. For one thing, completely undermining a character, who they are, for the sake of convenience of plot. Whose plan was it? Who devised the plan to have everyone run away from the undead zombies into the crypt, which is full of the dead? Tyrion was sitting in the room for that one, and he okayed it. Tyrion tries to convince Cersei in Season 7 of Game of Thrones that the White Walkers are a problem, and says that you should join us. What? The Tyrion of old would never have trusted Cersei in his life. He would never have devised a plan that fucking dumb in his life. Tyrion turned from a great tactician and a great mind into some dude who sometimes says quirky things and then comes up with strategies like, let's hide in the tomb of the dead when we're fighting the undead. He's a moron now, and that's so sad to see. They've undermined his character for the sake of plot points that they, the writers, want to see. This hasn't just happened with Tyrion. That's just the biggest bitch slap to me. So what's the consequence of undermining a character and who a character is? well, suddenly, I don't know what to think of them. It makes me stop caring about them, really. Because it's like it's 7 different people I'm watching. It's not Tyrion. Is it Tyrion now, or is it dumb Tyrion? I can't tell. What Tyrion are you today? And it creates this kind of distance between me and the character when he acts out of character and does stupid shit. That's the consequence of undermining a character and changing that. What makes them them is it makes me stop caring about them. And they do this over and over again for the sake of the plot. Or let's look about the broader implications of, drum roll please, plot armor. This is perhaps the worst gripe I have with the entire show since season 5 onwards. Plot armor. Plot armor. It is unbelievable, man. You know, in season 1, I loved Sean Bean. I don't know why. I just liked him. He seemed like quite a righteous man. You know what happened? Spoiler alert, he gets his fucking head chopped off. And I went, oh, you didn't. And they did. They killed him. And they killed Ned Stark. They killed Catelyn Stark. Look, and Oberyn, man. Oberyn from season 4 of Game of Thrones. The guy had pizzazz. He was likable. He was interesting. And then, he gets his fucking head crushed in the most horrible way. Because nothing in Game of Thrones was sacred. People could die. Regardless of whether I liked the character or not, they could die. There was always the possibility that someone could die. And that was horrible, but it was also great. Because it gave the show some tension. But then when you take that away, when you make death so trivial that it becomes just a mere obstacle, all the stress, all the fear and the tension is gone. I know that the characters won't die because the writers say that they shouldn't die. So why should I feel stressed in any of these circumstances? I mean, these are the goddamn White Walkers. They've been built up for 8 seasons. They are the ultimate threat to humanity as we know it. And I never felt scared for any of the main characters. Because the plot armor was so strong that the main characters could brush off the goddamn White Walkers like they were a piece of lint. How many times did it happen in the episode where someone was surrounded by zombies going, "Oh God, John, help me!" And then, nothing came of it. How many times did it happen in the episode where someone is in a dire situation, they're gonna die, they're on the brink of death, zombies are coming in on all sides, and oh my God, they're everywhere, they're climbing the walls, and then they're surrounded, like they're pinned to the floor. And then they just get saved by another character instantly. Just like that. Or they could be Samwell fucking Tarly sitting on a mound of dead bodies, covered in undead, and then the motherfucker escapes. Alive. It doesn't matter how many zombies are poured on top of them. It doesn't matter how many enemies, it doesn't matter how many foes, it doesn't matter just how terrifying or how imposing the threat is. It could be the greatest threat to humanity. It could be a fucking comet from space coming down to destroy Earth as we know it. And I wouldn't give a fuck. Because the plot armor is so thick that each of the main characters would find a way to survive the battle. They would survive a meteor hit. Because the writers have dictated that these characters will not die. So why should I feel stressed? Why should I feel for any any of these characters' perils when I just know, oh, they'll get off alright. Not even a scratch, eh? If I'm to compare this to something, it's Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Spoiler alert for that film, if anyone remembers it. If anyone watched it, I mean, I wouldn't. It's not that great. Kingsman: The Golden Circle, someone gets shot in the head in the first film, and then, spoiler alert, they come back to life. And how do they come back to life exactly? Well, it turns out there's this gelatinous substance which can revive someone who's got a bullet in their brain. I'm not fucking with you. But what does that do for the rest of the movie? Right? Well, it just removes any tension, because I just know if someone gets shot in the head, they'll just come back. The writers will figure out some way for them to come back, and so death doesn't even matter. Later on in The Kingsman, someone literally does get shot in the head, not even a flinch. Nothing. And someone's just gotten shot in the head. I should feel something for that character. I should think, oh shit, but I didn't. Because they'd introduced something which negated death and the tension of death. And this is what Game of Thrones has done. But what does that do for the story? Well, it just means I don't give a shit about your perils or your circumstances, because I know you'll get out of it fine. Because the writers want them to be fine. So when they try and do this stupid bait and switch where they try to show you, oh, these characters might die, it's like, no, they won't, asshole. I see your card tricks and they don't amuse me. And this is compounded by another terrible problem, which is ignoring logic for the sake of instant gratifications and these stupid payoffs. Why did the cavalry run into the darkness? And it looks like they had every intention of going without Melisandre. Think about it. Think about it. They were all lined up, and they had planned weeks in advance before Melisandre had come along with her fire. They had planned for them to go charging out into the darkness, maybe with torches alone, to fight them. That none of them were equipped with torches. This shows a couple of things. First of all, it shows that the writers are fucking stupid. That's such a discrepancy. That's such a plot hole. And they did not think of it. They didn't think of it in the slightest. Because they wanted a payoff. They wanted this cool cinematic. And nothing could stop them from getting that. Not even logic itself. Not even cause and effect. The basic tenets of our reality. Not even that could stop these writers from doing whatever they wanted. God himself can't stop them from doing this shit. George R.R. Martin, he can't stop them from doing this shit. Just think about it, man. They didn't go back and edit their script and say, oh shit, we've equipped all of the cavalry with weapons, and they've obviously got the plan to charge out into the darkness, but they don't have torches. And if we're to look at it from the perspective of the cavalry, surely they should have torches. But they don't, and the reason they don't is because the writers were too fucking lazy, man. They just said, oh well, Melisandre's coming in, so it's not a problem. They had Melisandre included from the start, so that the torches were never even thought of. It shows, if anything, that if they really want something to happen, then it'll just happen no matter what. I mean, this is even the case for if there are previously established laws, say, and the show will just completely do away with them to create a payoff of some description. Mauler, in his YouTube video, pointed out how armor has become completely fucking useless, which I would agree with him with. The laws of armor are as follows. When you have heavy armor, a stick should not be able to break through. And how does Ser Jorah of Mormont die? Well, He was in a bit of a sticky situation. And he got stuck by a stick. Got stick by stick? Is that better? I don't know. Whatever. So they just did away with the rules of armor because it didn't suit the narrative. Or how about Melisandre being able to immolate these swords instantly and then forgetting the power? Like, I know she's like 100, 200, maybe 4,000 timey-wimey, wibbly-bobbly. Quite old. Maybe she's senile and she's forgetful. But to forget how to light barricades on fire so that you can have a climactic moment is a bit dumb. We've just established that she can do this fire thing and set everyone's weapon on fire, and then like 20-30 minutes later she can't do it to save her life, literally. She doesn't die, but she gets very close. The writers wanted this climactic thing to happen, but then they just abandoned the rules of how it worked so that they could make it happen. Or how about, you know, the fact that dragons and dragon fire is supposed to kill creatures like the Lich, like the Night King. And when Daenerys fucking roasts the man, she's content cop and he's rice gum. And he just stands there and takes it and nothing comes of it. So it's like, oh, okay, so you're establishing a rule that he's not like the others. He's not weak to these types of things, right? And then he gets glassed, dragon glassed, right in the midrib and dies. So it just ignores the rules it has established for so it can have a climactic moment, despite the fact that the climactic moment doesn't make sense. But that doesn't matter, right? The rules don't matter as long as there is a climax. Logic can't get in the way, not even rules can get in the way. If the writers want it to happen, it's just going to happen. So we should just let it happen then, I suppose. Just ignore the rules. Well, it shows that the writers are precious about their ideas. That they will include them no matter what, even if it defies logic. Even if the circumstances do not dictate that this should happen. It happens anyway, because the writers just get to do whatever they want. And that's so harmful for a show. It compounds upon the death effect. And that the reason it's so harmful is because I don't need to care about any of the setup or anything for that matter. I don't have to care about the rules. I don't have to care about the circumstances, the context, any of this shit. I don't have to care about the laws of gravity. Why should that stop them? I want them to just go full retard and just say, bruh, whatever. Jon can fly now. And he just takes off. And he's fighting White Walkers in midair. Well, why shouldn't that happen? Well, because there are laws in place, like the laws of physics, which should stop that from happening. But the laws are not even followed anyway in the show, so what's to say that they shouldn't do that? What's stopping them? Nothing. I want to see an anti-gravity Jon Snow stab the king in the head. That would be... Despite the fact that I was going to say that would be so dumb. Arya killed him, so the White King. So if the laws of a show aren't observed and they're just tossed away for moments, I don't have to care about the laws. And what happens if I don't care about the laws or the consistency of the show? Well, I just stop caring generally. Like, why should I get invested in a world that does not feel like a world, which feels like a shittily written TV show? The reason Game of Thrones was so good was because it was grounded. And now they could just make people fly if they wanted, because they're the show writers. Oh, and can we talk then about Arya Stark? Oh my god. When something happens, you expect something to result from it. If you want to see how good writing is done, go look at how the South Park crew write their show. They try their best to avoid the "and then." Instead, they write it like, because of this, this happens. And because of this, this happens. It's basic shit. There is setup and there is payoff. And then we have Game of Thrones. The basic principles of writing is setup and payoff, man. Come on. Come on. When you set up that a character's gonna do something, you gotta let them do it. It's Chekhov's gun. If you don't know what the Chekhov's gun principle is, it's if you introduce a gun in the first act, you have to show it, you have to use it in the second one. Otherwise, it's not satisfying. So let's look at a Chekhov's gun in Game of Thrones. The Lich King looking at Jon intensely in some very romantic stare-off. I was getting the vibes that the two of them had something going on, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. I thought, I've seen a lot of Tumblr, maybe it could go that way, but there is the possibility that there's something more than just sex appeal. Maybe there's a history between the Lich King and Jon Snow. Or maybe there's some relevance to it. You know, maybe there's going to be an epic finale where Jon Snow and him confront. No. None of that shit. So the gun is introduced in Act 1, and then it's never used in Act 2. Dude, what are you doing? Fucking Arya kills him while Jon is busy pissing himself in the courtyard, while a dragon is roaring at him, while everyone else does the important shit. They build up Jon Snow from the very beginning to be a watcher of the wall, an observer of the peace. He makes sure that the dead does not come beyond the wall. That's it from season 1. That is his goal. That is his objective. And what is the pinnacle of that objective then? Well, it's killing the Night King, surely the ultimate of the dead. And erasing, and because it's a shitty script, thus then erasing the rest of the zombies entirely. This is Jon's goal. This is what he's been built upon. And he doesn't get to fucking do it? Are you mad? I'm mad. That is so unsatisfying. Subvert my asshole, really. You know what? You know what I could do for a script? For these people who love to subvert expectations? So I'm going to build a family comedy. And it's going to be called The Road Trip. And it's going to feature Zach Galifianakis and an older woman. And they're going to be in a car ride. And Zach Galifianakis isn't going to be really happy with his mum. But his mum loves him and she wants, to love him back. She wants to build family. So that's her objective. And he's going to go through an arc where he's going to love her back. But then halfway through, he shoots her in the head. That's subversion for you. Was that satisfying? Fuck no. Where did that come from? There was no setup or payoff. Arya coming out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere when the fucking White Walkers were surrounding the Night King and stabbing him in the fucking head. Unbelievable. That came out of nowhere. Her story arc was not in any way related to the White Walkers. It wasn't. She had her own shit going on. Her motivation was Cersei. She wanted to get back at the Lannisters. She was driven by revenge. She was a revenge archetype, and she suddenly just stops being that and becomes a hero? The hero archetype? What? So Chekhov's gun as the principle is just not observed in the slightest. There's no cause and effect going on. So, there's death, it's just irrelevant at this point because every character's just going to live anyway. We might reach the last season and there are actually some casualties. It might happen. But here's the thing though, why should I care now? It was the Night King. It was the undead army. This was the threat that faced all of humanity. And they treated it like Sunday afternoons. They just swept it from the porch like a raccoon. And the writings on Game of Thrones, it's been okay, it's been quite good, and it's been not so good. And it's had this boring, repetitive formula, but I've always hoped that in the end it would be worth it, because George had a plan. George had a satisfying plan that followed the rules, and these people just don't care. It's a shame, man. Oh, and channel update. I'm going to be taking it a bit easier and doing some of this type of content from now on. Now on, I mean like a couple of weeks, because I've got some busy times ahead of me. So, yeah, take care.